I think it's really important to find your niche, but not in a way where you can really become popular or well known, but just something that you really like, and that's something that's part of you and that's important to you, and then try to pursue this the most within performing. I think this is not easy because there's so much of this, but it's really fun to like just the process of finding this path and then growing into it. It's really, really amazing.
It's so great to meet you here on Zoom, Zuzanna.
Great to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Where are you based at the moment?
I'm based in Vienna at the moment, but I come from Poland.
Yeah, so did you grow up there in Poland?
Yes, I did. I've lived there for around 20 years, first 20 years of my life. I come from a very small town in the eastern Poland, around 100 kilometers from the Belarusian border. So there's also not many possibilities to study music there. But the thing is that there was one very famous violinist, Karol Lipiński, who was born in my hometown, Radzyń Podlaski. And he was actually the biggest rival of Paganini in his time. And actually Paganini once said, when he was asked about who is, in Paganini's opinion, the best violinist in the world, he said, I'm not sure about the first one, but the second is definitely Lipiński. So we had a big violin tradition in my hometown, and we had just like the first grad music school, which is just 6 years. And I started there.
But do you come from a musical family? Did your parents or family members play violin?
Not at all. My parents are both dentists, but I can tell they both have very good hearing, and they always sang very well in terms of the intonation. It was always very much in tune. And my father was very talented also in terms of playing instruments, but learning them on his own, because he learned to play the piano, the accordion, and the guitar all by himself. So I guess there was some kind of musical talents running in the family, but nobody pursued them as a career.
But what exactly about the violin intrigues you?
Well, at the beginning, I actually wanted to play the saxophone, but it was much bigger than I was at the moment.
Oh, okay.
And my mother always wanted me to play the violin, and I also passed the exams, the entrance exams to the music school very well on a higher level than normally kids did at that time. And then they said it's probably because I have very good hearing and I should play the violin, because it's very necessary, of course, to have a very good hearing to play the violin. And that's how it started. And I must say that I think the love for the violin, it just grew with the love for my first teacher. She was really passionate about the instrument and about arts in general. She was also a painter. And she was really just this type of person who could really, she really took care of her students a lot, and we all loved her. And that was really, I think it was very special to have that sort of personality at the very beginning of the musical journey. It's very important for children.
Well, I love when artists tell this, about their teachers, because I think it's so important. I think the value of teaching is completely underestimated, because like you say now, that the love for the violin, so she instilled that in you and helped you on your path. So this is amazing. This is so valuable.
Mm-hmm. That's very true. And I really think especially the beginning of the education is so important. And I think, speaking of underestimating the power of teaching, it's, I think, the very first 4 to 5 years, these are the most underestimated, I would say. Because I would say they're crucial, because it's the easiest to give up then, especially with the violin, when it all sounds so horrible for such a long time. And it really requires a lot of love, even for the horrible sounds, be able to make them into beautiful sounds in a while. So,
the patience of these teachers, to pursue and to help the students to carry on. And like you say, it's so easy because when you're young, you don't see the future so easily. So you don't see the possibilities for you.
That's very true. And also for the parents, I think the parent-teacher relationship is also really important and also underestimated in many ways, especially with musical education, with our instruments, when the teacher is almost like a third parent because you spend so much one-on-one time with the teacher.
Yeah.
And I think this relationship that the parents and the teacher are sort of the same opinion about everything, or they like find the same opinion at some point. It's really important to help the child develop in the best way that he or she can.
And of course, it's that fine line of not pushing the child, but motivating the child.
Of course, that's something my parents did really very well, because they made sure I would not only practice. I hated practicing, by the way, but of course,
Really?
I hated it. I still don't really like it that much, but it's better now. Anyway, I really hated practicing, but I really liked playing. But also, I liked basically everything else, and my parents always made sure that I liked everything else and that I was studying everything else, so that when I was 15 or 16 and I think this was the time when I had to decide if I really wanted to become a professional violinist. It wasn't the only option I had, because I had teachers, English, German, biology, art, Polish, also teachers telling me I should go in a completely different direction because they thought I was good enough to do all these different things, which I loved. And I think this was also hard to some extent, because I really had to, in a way, give that up, give everything else apart from the violin up, to really focus on it. But it was great to have this option and not to feel limited and to be stuck with the music if I decided it wasn't something I didn't want to do. So this not pushing but encouraging to develop in many different areas, I think it's really important, but very difficult.
But that you could make that choice, that you knew that this is what you wanted to do.
Yes, I did. I mean, this first teacher I mentioned at the beginning, she actually passed away after 4 years of teaching me. She was very young. She was just 39 when she passed away. And at this time, then I had some not so great teachers. And I was, me and my parents, we were all thinking about giving up the idea of violin, because it was just really not going well for, I would say, 1 year and a half. And we were once at this point where we had the resignation letter to the music school written, and I just had to sign it. Of course, my parents had to, but I also had to do it. And I remember I was, for a long time, I was convinced we should quit. But then when I saw the letter and I read it, I just started crying and said I didn't want to. So I think at this point when I had to decide, it was in a way the second time I had to decide. So almost 10 years later. Oh no, not 10 years, but like eight years later, I would say. So I was already more aware of the choice. So it was easier.
Yeah, but then you've done so much. I mean, I read about your, or I read your CV and everything you've done, and you've been all over the world, really, and you've been part of many competitions as well. So was that the path? I mean, did you automatically knew that you had to do that to be able to establish your name and to get somewhere with violin?
Well, I was raised musically in a way that I knew I had to do competitions, and I think now it's maybe a bit different. But when I started, so it was 2004. So it was still the time when really everybody had to do competitions. So I did, and I rather liked it. I'm quite a competitive person, but in a healthy way. Like I wouldn't really go over the borders to win something. That was never me. But I like competing. It's not something that I feel bad with. But recently, I've heard this interview of this very famous Polish actor, and he mentioned when he was in the drama school, he got this advice from a very famous director, and he said, you know, when you're in a running competition and then there's the command go and everybody starts running and of course they want to be the first. You shouldn't go with them. You should go the other direction, because then the crowd is not following the race, but they're following this one idiot who's going the other direction. And why? And what's
true,
the
yeah.
And this actor, he's actually the best Polish comedian ever, I would say. And he said that's what his life looked like for the better part. He said this was the best advice he ever got. And I would say my life is maybe not completely like this, but I've done a lot of things that weren't, I would say, normal for a musical career. So I wouldn't say competitions were the biggest part of my life and my musical life. And also the most important prizes I got, they weren't from violin or chamber music competitions. They were prizes for my concert activities, basically. So like more of acknowledgement prizes. So very important, especially in Poland. Like this year in June, I got the Young Promoter of Poland Award, and this is a prize of the President of the Republic of Poland.
Wow!
And
congratulations!
Thank you. And also together with my husband, the pianist Szymon Ogryzek, we got the Coryphaeus of the Polish Music Prize, which is also very important for promoting Polish music, which we do a lot. So these prizes really matter to me the most because they're based on something I really love doing, which is playing concerts and promoting unknown Polish music in Poland and abroad. And these are the most valuable. So I would say it's just this is a bit different than just going to a competition and winning the competition.
Well, this is again where you use your art to make a difference or to make an impact, you know, and I think this is so important to do.
I also think so. And I think it's really important to find your niche, but not in a way where you can really become popular or well known, but just something that you really like and that's something that's part of you and that's important to you, and then try to pursue this the most within performing. I think this is not easy because there's so much of this, but it's really fun to like just the process of finding this path and then growing into it. It's really, really amazing.
But now in Poland, is there, are there a lot of opportunities for musicians, for artists?
And there is more and more opportunities. There always were quite some, but the classical music scene especially is not as big as in Vienna, whereas you can have 100 concerts in one day, and it's really hard to decide which one to attend because they are so great. There's not that many in Poland, unfortunately. But I feel like in the last 2 years, maybe since COVID started, I would say, it's becoming more and more popular and classy to go into a classical music concert. So it's being fashionable now, which I think is a very good way to promote it and to like get people to understand how really classy and really fantastic it is to be part of this. And as a listener, I mean, of course, I go to concerts myself as well, and I love it. So I would say there is more and more, and also the younger generation artists, they are trying to do a lot of, and they're setting up a lot of foundations and programs for even younger, like the students, teenagers.
Amazing.
So I think in the next 10 years, it can change quite a lot because now a lot of these projects are new, like they're 1 or 2 years old, maybe, but I would say in 10 years, it should be much, much better. And it's really, so I'm hopeful about this.
Yeah, and amazing that because I'm so passionate about the fact that young people must have the opportunity to do different forms of art, not just music, but all forms of art, you know, and these projects, they are so meaningful because they start this process and they start this whole wave of what can be done in the future.
Of course, and I think it's important for all musicians also to try different forms of art, even if you're not good at it. I think it's just important to try to. I mean, I used to draw quite a lot. Now I don't because I don't really have time for it, and so I kind of gave it up. But I did draw a lot, and this would always really help me with playing because, of course, I wasn't Monet or Degas. But then if you do just a little bit of this, and then you see a painting which, for example, inspired Debussy to write his music, it's much easier to understand the painting because you kind of know what he did there to do.
Oh, yes.
It's really, for me, it's really important. Like even the brush strokes, like when you imagine the movement they used while painting, and then you try to convey this in your music when you're playing it. Of course, now I'm speaking about Impressionism because it's the most connected, but it's really cool.
But it's so true, and you know, with different things. I mean, sometimes I speak to artists who do different things, and I always ask, how do these things overlap? And they always say they do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somehow the brain just does that.
That's very true. Just the creative part. I feel like once you do one creative form of art, then it's easier to do the other one because you already have a bit of imagination for the other type already, and the vulnerability also to the other type.
Mm. But now I see you're also part of a trio.
Yeah.
Tell me about the trio.
Well, the trio is probably now more than 60% of my life, of my musical life. It's the Cuore piano trio. Cuore from Italian means heart. Mm-hmm. But it's also, in a very distant translation, it's also the surname of our pianist, my husband's also my surname now, which his surname actually means the core of an apple. And actually, cuore in Italian also, as I mentioned, is also the core of an apple.
Oh, what a beautiful surname to have.
It's true. And also the piano is, of course, the heart of the piano trio. So kind of our name has 3 dimensions.
Yeah.
And we've been playing together for 6 years now. We all started in Warsaw completely by accident because my pianist asked me if I wanted to play 1 semester of chamber music in the trio with him. And I was like, of course, I love chamber music. Why not? And then I called our cellist, whom I known already from high school. We've known each other actually half of our lives this year exactly. And she was also doing German studies at the time, and she really didn't have much time for regular preparations and exams and everything. And this was the deal, that we practice for a week, we play a concert, and then she gets a grade. So she was, of course, happy to do it because she could skip 1 exam when she had tons of it. But then after this concert, we started getting more and more opportunities and concert invitations. And now we just turned 6 years old. And we have our own cycle in Brandsaal, the Musikverein. So this is really
amazing. But so did you meet your husband through this trio?
Actually, through a duet, because we first played as a duo. Because I got this. This was another funny story. I applied for this scholarship at our university, which is, speaking of good opportunities, it's a great opportunity. There's a scholarship at the Frederick Chopin University of Music in Warsaw for students where you have to come up with a CD concept, and it's if the jury decides it's a good concept and you have enough achievements, you get to record the CD, and it's funded by the Société Générale Bank. And I got this scholarship when I was a freshman, but the problem is I didn't have a pianist. So I ran to my chamber music professor, who actually also studied in Vienna, so it's kind of a long way. And Szymon, my husband, he had a lesson with her at the time, and she was like, he's a good pianist, he can learn fast. Szymon, would you like to record a CD with Zuzanna? So of course he did. And that's how we met, and then from the duo.
And that's the love story then.
Yes, kind of.
Amazing. Oh, I always love love stories.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
Yeah. So, but now talking about your study, so when did you come to Vienna to come and study?
It was 2018, and I first came for Erasmus because I wanted to study with Professor Edward Jankowski. He is Polish, and he was teaching here in Vienna had been actually now teaching for around 30 years. And I've known him from some master classes in Poland, and also he comes from the same region of Poland than I do, so we have a lot of mutual musical history already by the region. And I've known him a while, and I always wanted to study with him, so that's why I actually came to Vienna. And I dragged my husband with me, not husband at that time. And we were here for a year, and then we just decided we really want to stay. And also, we were telling our cellist a lot of good things about Vienna, about the university, the professors. So she came for Erasmus 1 year later, and then 1 year later she also decided to stay, and that's how we kind of gradually moved from Warsaw to Vienna, all three of us.
Amazing. So then you all together now?
Yes.
But now tell me, and do you teach as well?
I used to. I don't do this in Vienna, but I used to teach young kids when I was studying in Warsaw.
Oh, okay.
And this was always challenging. Speaking especially of the kids that just had so many extracurricular activities, and they would come home from swimming class or a violin class and then straight to Chinese or tennis class. It was really difficult to get their attention to stay there. But I always learned a lot from kids and from the simple way they sometimes see things, and it was really inspiring. At some point, I had a student, a Chinese student whose mom was a diplomat in the Chinese embassy in Warsaw, so I would go to the embassy, teach him, and I even met the ambassador by accident. Just on the corridor. Yeah. And this was also very inspiring to just get to know the culture, and they were always so supportive. And
many people say this, that when they teach, they learn so much. That's teaching. Yeah, that's
I think it's really a big part of teaching, but just acknowledging the fact that it's a big part of teaching, I think it's also very important, and that's what makes a good teacher, I think.
Yeah. But now tell me, what are still the wishes for you for the future?
Well, the past few years for me were mostly about chamber music, because the trio was, I mean, it still is, but it was growing really fast, especially the last 2 years. But now I've got also many more solo opportunities, and I just performed with an orchestra in Poland 10 days ago, and I really loved that as well. So definitely, what is my wish is to play as a soloist more, but that doesn't mean play less of the trio, of course. Yeah. I guess, I mean, for me, there was always no one path that I wanted to do. I always wanted to do everything. I also like playing in an orchestra, but I don't think having a stable job at an orchestra is a thing for me. I don't think this works, but I really love taking part in different projects just now and then with different orchestras. It's also really, I mean, learning from conductors and from the musicians in the orchestra is also really inspiring. And even for playing solo, of course, when you play solo with an orchestra and you've already worked in orchestras with so many good conductors, it helps tremendously to be able to lead the orchestra from the soloist point of view. And also for chamber music, of course, I mean, me being a violinist, usually I'm the one who gives cues when to enter, or I'm trying to keep it in place. So of course, everything you learn in an orchestra is really valuable for chamber music as well. I mean, orchestra is just one big chamber music as well. So I would just like to do everything, and of course, teaching at some point. Amazing.
Well, you seem to be that type of person, because when you said also in school you did all the different things, and you were good at everything you do, and so you no, but then this is your life, that you like to do all these different things.
That's true. I was interested in really many different things, and I just really like a lot of things. So now they're more music orientated, but still, being a musical journalist would also be amazing, because I love to write, and I always did that. But now it's just mostly applications for funds to record CDs or things like this. So it's maybe not that creative of a work, but you can make it creative, which I always like to do.
But like you say, and all these things also overlap, and they influence each other. So that's amazing that you do that. But do you also play other genres, or do you just play classical music?
I play mostly classical music, but I mean, if we can call Baroque music like historical instruments a different genre, I think now we actually can, because the historical performance is so much a theme right now. So I also play this. And sometimes I also take part in non-classical projects, mostly in Poland. I did just in July record a CD with this, I would say he's a soul singer. It's a bit hard to tell what he what he sings, but I mean kind of a soul singer. We just recorded a CD with him. It's going to premiere in 8 days. And also a year ago, I played a big concert tour with a very famous pop singer who actually is my classmate. So
really,
yeah.
And who is this?
She's also from Poland. It's Sanach with an H at the end. She's quite really big in Poland, probably the most popular right now. So that was also an interesting experience to play for 30,000 people. Very nice.
Amazing.
But I would say what I really liked the most about this is that when you do something the public likes, they will scream and clap and just be joyful. And it's really rewarding to get this opinion right back, and not after the concert when you talk to the public. It just really drives you to...
I can imagine,
That's amazing. That's something we lack in classical music, I would say, because of course they're concentrated and the public has to be concentrated, and then you can have the feedback after the concert, so you can maybe use it for another concert, but not during this particular one. But of course there's no way to incorporate this into the other. But then again, the concert cycle we have in Musikverein, the Souvenir, it's concerts for people with dementia and without, and it's for the sick people and their family members, but of course everybody is invited. And these concerts are a bit different. They're moderated by Veronika Mandl from Musikverein, and we usually play short pieces, like one movement of a trio, then something else. It's a 1 hour long concert, and the public, because of their sickness, they're allowed to do whatever they feel like. So sometimes we would play a waltz and they would start dancing a waltz, or somebody would start whistling, or there's a lot of songs that we arrange, like very easy Austrian songs that children sing when they're young. We play them in a trio and the people would start singing with us because they still have this memory. So this is, I think maybe this is the way to incorporate this engagement of the audience into a serious concert. And this is very rewarding, very touching. And also we have a lot of our friends who come to the concerts to support us, and they love it as well, even though of course they don't suffer from dementia, but they love just being a part of the concert, that you finally can do something on your own from the listener points of view, which is amazing. Also for us, I mean, it's just great to see what people enjoy.
What an amazing project this is.
The next concert is on the 27th of November at 3 o'clock in Bramsveld. It's a Monday, so you're only invited.
Oh, thank you. What, the 27th of December?
No, November.
Of November. Oh, okay. But what but this is an amazing project, and how wonderful that that the people respond this way.
They really do. That's something at the beginning, because it started last year. We played 3 concerts, then another trio played 3 concerts, and this year we are performing the full cycle. So last year, before the very first concert, we had a workshop with Caritas, because this is a project of Musikverein with Caritas and with MDW. So we were educated about dementia much more than we were before. Of course, I think every one of us has a grandma or a grandpa that suffers from it. So we all know a bit, but we never know the full story. So it was also very important to actually get to know more in a scientific point of view. And so we were warned in a way that many different things could happen, because you never know how the people will react. But it's always, I mean, nothing scary or weird happens. It just, they enjoy this so much, and sometimes the people would come to us after the concert. We always try to talk to the audience after any concert we play, and after these concerts especially. and everybody really enjoys it so much. And especially when you come to the concert with your mother or your grandmother who won't speak to you, but then she starts to sing a song that she remembers from her childhood.
Yeah.
It's really, well, sometimes we have moments when Szymon plays solo and I would turn the pages for him. So when I just sit there, I get to just listen to him and observe the audience. It's really, really difficult not to shed a tear, because it's just really so emotional. And then you have to go back and stay focused and play a Mozart trio. So it's also not easy in a way.
Yeah, but first of all, just this project that you are involved in, this amazing that you do this. And then also just another example of how art can do such amazing things, and there's so many times where we say, okay, but we don't need art. But yes, we do need art. We do need this. We do need music. So we cannot say that it's not important or that it's not life-changing, because it is,
Was it Winston Churchill who said that if the world after the war is to be without art, what we are even fighting for? I think it was Churchill. So yeah. I think it says it all.
True. Yeah. But Zuzanna, this was so great talking to you, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you really again for having me. It was really great talking to you. Very inspiring, and also good to sum up everything I did for
amazing work that you're doing, honestly, and I'm very glad that we had this conversation, and all the best with your projects and the amazing work that you're doing. I really admire artists who go outside themselves, and be of service with their art. I think that is so important, and you are such a great example of that.
Thank you so much. It's really lovely to hear this, and it makes a difference, and it means a lot.
But have a lovely afternoon.
You too.
And I hope to see you in person.
Yes, hopefully in Musikverein on the 27th, if you have time.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay, I'm Zuzanna. See you soon.
See you soon. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.